Picture this: the breathtaking vista of a remote and luxurious destination, romantic and meaningful forever moments when life just seems to go in slow motion, and a day that revolves exclusively around the both of you, your love story, and your desires. And the best part? You'll get to do all of this while saving time, your hard-earned money, and your sanity. Whether you're a globe-trotting adventurer, a busy career-focused individual, maybe you're incredibly impulsive, or you're someone who simply values quality over quantity, you may be attracted to the relative simplicity, shorter lead times, and ease of eloping. And if you're also trying to juggle work, study, your social and family life, health goals, travel, and personal growth, it's no real surprise why planning a wedding on top of all of this might feel a bit much. This episode is for you, because today I'm diving into the exhilarating world of eloping. That's right, we're tossing aside the stress, the overwhelming guest list, the countless hours of decision making. What about the backhanded compliments? You know the ones. That's an interesting venue choice. And the endless compromises. Say goodbye to cookie cutter weddings to impress and satisfy other people's wants and needs, and hello to your unique, intimate, and oh so memorable experience. I'm going to tell you all about the benefits of eloping, how it can align with your values, from feminist values or eco-conscious choices to ethical considerations, and even just the practicality of getting time off work. And crucially, I'll also share the often ignored downsides of running away and getting married, including a few recommended ways to navigate those difficult conversations that need to be had with immediate family and your best mates. Let's get stuck into it. Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille, and welcome to the Unbridely podcast. Okay, let's understand this elopement trend, because it is going up in a big way. So what exactly is eloping? In the most traditional sense, hundreds of years ago, it meant running away, sometimes from your parents and sometimes from your husband or wife, to go and get married to your lover. It was considered taboo and something that honourable people just didn't do. But in this day and age, and especially in a post-COVID landscape, an elopement can sometimes be a surprise to a couple's family and friends until it's all happened, or sometimes they're included in more of a micro-wedding celebration. But this is generally less than 20, say 30 guests. It can mean going interstate, overseas, or just down the beach. Eloping can mean heading to your local registry office or courthouse, or in some countries, just to your favourite bar. It's essentially a decision made by a couple to skip the wedding celebration with others and instead exchange their vows in a more private and personal setting. So let's talk about these benefits. The amazing advantages. Why don't you just run away? Why don't you just elope? People talk about it in a very offhanded manner, but also there's the horror stories of elopements. So let's get down to what's actually going on, the real benefits of eloping. And I think number one has to be the time efficiency. So planning a traditional wedding can be super time consuming. And according to Easy Weddings 2023 Wedding Industry Report, the average lead time for planning a wedding in Australia is 22 months. Now, that is a lot of weekends dedicated to colour wheels, cake tastings and seating charts, not to mention the extensive coordination and decision-making that doesn't let up until the thank you cards are sent. With elopements, though, by shortening the time frame, minimising the planning process and streamlining logistics, you've got fewer details to manage. And with elopements, you can focus on other priorities in your life. The number two advantage is the cost savings. Traditional weddings can get expensive, with costs ranging from venue rentals and catering to decorations and guest accommodations. Eloping typically involves no guest list or a smaller guest list in terms of a micro wedding, and a much simpler setup, resulting in significant cost savings for you. Couples can allocate their resources more efficiently, either saving money for other important goals like furthering their education, buying a home, traveling, or investing in quality details for their elopement that truly matter to them. It may be the very best champagne that money can buy, being chaperoned in a sports car, or a honeymoon in a dream destination. And to really put this cost saving into perspective for you, consider the most recent Easy Weddings 2023 Wedding Industry Report. Basically, it's like a State of the Union for weddings, in Australia at least. They surveyed over 3,500 engaged and recently married couples and almost 600 wedding businesses to get these figures. So whether you're here in Oz, the States, UK, New Zealand, Canada, or elsewhere, in most Western cultures, the figures would be pretty similar. Are you sitting down? If you're driving, I'd highly recommend that you pull over. While Victoria is the state with the highest average cost of a wedding at a bit over $37,000, and with Tasmania having the lowest average cost of around $26,000, the average cost of a wedding across all of the states and territories in Australia is $34,715. Depending on your age, education, income, heritage, that cost might be terrifying, sickening, or just a drop in the ocean to you. And each to their own. I'm not going to be shaming anyone for how those figures make you feel. But if you consider that a fairly luxurious elopement, including your travel to somewhere amazing, short legal ceremony, hair makeup, attire, a first-class photographer for a couple of hours, decadent celebration dinner, and possibly a week-long honeymoon afterwards, we could work this out for a budget of around $10,000 or less. You've really got to ask yourself where your priorities lie, right? And to share a little of my personal feelings after seeing these costs, I thought back to my husband and my wedding in 2014. We spent around $15,000 on a 60-person cocktail wedding at the Sterling Hotel in the Adelaide Hills. Absolutely gorgeous place. Really love it. Lovely blend of heritage and modern architecture and beautiful rooms. We stayed in their accommodation for a couple of nights. It was perfect for us. But for example, I created all of the centerpieces for our bar tables. I prepared the favors for our guests and the midnight snack boxes for our immediate family who were staying in the hotel overnight. So a fair whack of DIY, including a disaster of trying to make my own bouquets, which I will definitely share with you one day. And although it was a very special night and a time of bringing together Matt and my families that we'll never get to do again, I still questioned him yesterday about whether he'd still want to do a wedding over eloping, having his time again. And he said yes, hands down, he would go for the wedding still. And for me, I'm not entirely convinced that an island holiday wouldn't have been just as good. So there you go. The third advantage is the intimate experience. Eloping allows a much more personalised experience compared to larger weddings because there are way less distractions. You can exchange vows, should you choose to, of course, with your partner in a private setting without the pressure of having dozens of people watching and listening to you. This pared back atmosphere can allow for a deeper connection and a more focused celebration aligning with your values. To focus on each other instead of the fuss, the tradition, and the customs that can accompany a wedding, this means that your elopement is literally all about you. The fourth benefit is flexibility and personalisation. Eloping provides greater flexibility in choosing your location, the date, and the style because you no longer need to take anyone else's opinions into consideration. You can opt for a destination that aligns with your desire to travel and explore new places. You can personalize the ceremony to reflect you and your partner's preferences, beliefs, and values, creating a truly unique and connected experience without considering anyone else ever listening to it. Like ever. You don't have to check yourself. You don't have to go, have we remembered to mention that person? Doesn't matter. It's about you. For example, sustainable and eco-friendly elopements, which can mean staying and buying local and pre-loved, with everything from your attire to your flowers, the food that you eat, and the jewellery. Your decision to choose to be sustainable, eco-friendly, green, essentially, will be questioned less by others because they won't be there. You don't need to worry about putting anyone else out. It's a win-win. If you are a staunch feminist and you can't bear the idea of being given away like you're a piece of property, like you're a piece of meat, then you don't have to worry about upsetting dad, brother, mum, whoever feels like it's their right to walk you down the aisle. You don't have to do it. You don't even have to explain why. It is your choice and something that you don't have to check in with others about. If you had a sweary, chocolate-addicted, wine-sipping fairy godmother who could help you with your wedding planning, what would you wish for? Perhaps no more waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, wondering what you've forgotten, or fretting about your RSVPs. Maybe no more spreadsheets or post-it notes or endless to-do lists. Well, I can help you with all of that. Websites is an Australian wedding website builder, guest management software, and wedding project planner all in one. Why is this such a game changer for you? Well, imagine everything to do with your wedding being in one place, updated in real time in the cloud, shareable to anyone else that's helping you, password protected for your guests, with notifications to tell you what needs to be done next and by when. It's amazing, right? I love how easy websites is to set up and use and how there are no ads on the platform yelling at you to spend more money on your wedding. To get started on your very own free wedding website, just head to wedsites.com. That's WEDSITES.com and enter the code UNBRIDELYPOD, that's Unbridely POD, to get 10% off their paid planning tools. The link is in the show notes. The fifth pro of eloping is reduce stress. Planning a traditional wedding often comes with a significant amount of stress. You're juggling multiple vendors, demands from family and friends, and intricate details. Your timeline is a piece of magical work. So eloping minimises the pressure associated with elaborate planning of a full-scale wedding, allowing you to enjoy a more relaxed and pleasurable experience. You'll have more time and space to focus on your well-being. You can prioritise self-care and maintain a better work-life balance during this significant event in your life. And for some couples, they love the idea of not being the centre of attention. Many couples who just don't love being the focus with everyone's eyes on them also prefer the idea of going incognito and under the radar with an elopement. And some people's families are just horrible. It can be as simple as that. And the sixth huge advantage of eloping and why they're growing in popularity is because there's more opportunity for adventure. Eloping opens up possibilities for adventurous and unconventional wedding locations. I don't know if you've seen that Instagram post. It's about this couple and they're just standing on this netting with their officiant getting married over the top of a canyon. Go your hardest. Fucking love that. I would never do that in a million years. But if that's your jam, you can do that without worrying about anyone else trying to get up there. Auntie with her walker and, grandpa with his walking frame getting up there to the top of the cliff. You don't have to worry about it. It's yours. This is yours. You could choose to have your ceremony in a breathtaking natural setting, a destination you've always wanted to visit, or a unique venue that resonates with your interests. This sense of adventure and exploration can add an extra layer of excitement and meaning to your wedding day too. So it sounds pretty rosy, right? But it has to be said. Eloping is not for everyone, and there are some significant downsides. And from my experience, the biggest problem with eloping is that your family and friends can feel let down and hurt, which can result in permanently damaged relationships and broken trust. Some parents or close friends will be happy for a couple that chooses to elope, but frequently there are disappointments and hurt feelings due to long-held expectations that won't be fulfilled. As much as it's your choice, your close relationships to others means that they have their own ideas on how they'll be included in your life, especially during milestones, and this is one of those. Whether you choose to let the cat out of the bag and tell your loved ones before you get married or afterwards, there are going to be a lot of questions. And if you choose to tell people before you get married, just be aware that other people's opinions are likely to colour how you feel about your decision. Things like, can I still come? Will there be a party afterwards? And even, why do you want to elope? These might be more intrusive and harder to answer than you anticipate. The other big problem is that FOMO can be really bad. The what ifs can be deafening if you're both not 100% certain that eloping is right for you both. While the whole point of not having a wedding is often to escape the circus, remember that there's no one cheering you on. And that can hit hard and differently depending on your personality and expectations. Traditional weddings often incorporate traditions, customs, cultural practices, and things like that as well. So by eloping, you might miss out on incorporating these elements into your wedding celebration, which could be important to you or your family, or again, add to that FOMO. Should have done that. Should have respected my past. Some people might also regret not having a traditional wedding and feel like they missed out on certain experiences and memories associated with a more conventional celebration. Walking down the aisle with a loved one, that can be a big one. Exchanging vows in front of your friends and family, or having a big party. They might be things that you value, and eloping might not provide those opportunities. And so there's a chance you could look back and go, damn it, we missed out there. We made a bad choice. When you elope, you also tend to, unconsciously, I think, say, we're doing this on our own, which can mean that family and friends go, that's great, you've got it, off you go, which means you'll have to handle all the planning, the logistics, and the emotional aspects on your own without the assistance or advice from your family and friends. And this can feel really quite isolating. And additionally, depending on where you choose to elope and which country you reside in, there might be additional steps and paperwork. So it's very important to understand the legal and logistical implications beforehand to make sure your marriage is properly recognised and legal. So, with that potential for your fabulous elopement to hurt the feelings of your family and friends, how can we minimise that? Because that's the thing, right? If you've made this decision and you want to elope, you can see all those advantages, all those benefits, and there are a lot, and they're huge. If you've decided it's truly for you, then we need to offset these downsides. And so the first thing you've got to be thinking about here is open and honest communication. I would highly recommend that you don't just run away and come back and then tell people. I've heard of it. I've seen it with some couples. Some family and friends never forgive. They can't believe that the couple that got married could hold back such important information. So I think, and this is just my personal opinion, that open and honest communication before eloping is key. To have those honest conversations with your loved ones about your decision, like explaining the reasons, such as wanting a more intimate ceremony or a more private experience. Let them know that your decision was made for you and was not meant to exclude or hurt them, but it's a personal choice that you and your partner made together. And then to open up the opportunity for them to give you some input in decision making, if it's appropriate, involving your loved ones to a certain degree, maybe some input on the location or providing them with some choices or involving them in specific planning details. This really can make them feel valued and included in the process, even though they won't physically be there. You will need to take an extra helping of patience and to be understanding and empathetic too. You'll need to appreciate that your loved ones may feel really disappointed or hurt, at least initially. So it would be wise to give them some space to express their emotions and their concerns and try to be understanding and empathetic towards their feelings. Acknowledge their emotions and reassure them of your love and the significance of your relationship with them. We don't want to erode that by this decision to elope. We know, I know, you know, that your decision wasn't based purely on your family and friends, but they sensed that it was a part of it. And so we want to reinforce how much we love them and how much they mean to us. And then once you get married, it's about sharing the experience. So make an effort to share what happened with your family and friends, whether that's in photos, videos, or a letter. If it's your mum who's particularly upset, a letter detailing the emotions and the moments from your elopement. So this will help them feel connected to your journey and it will allow them to share in the joy of what happened when you eloped. And then finally, I think it's really smart to plan a separate celebration. So consider organising a reception for your family and friends after your elopement, a party, essentially. This gives them the chance to come together and celebrate your marriage, even if they weren't present at the actual ceremony. It gives them the opportunity to share in your joy and feel included in the post-elopement festivities. So then if you've got photos there, video there, you could show them, on a screen or something or on a large TV. But it makes them feel like they weren't excluded. It helps them to understand that they're still an important part of your life, which is definitely what we want to get across. Remember, while these steps can help minimize the hurt feelings, it's important to recognize that not everyone may fully understand or even accept your decision to elope. Each person's reaction will vary, and it's essential to be patient, to give them time to process their emotions. But ultimately, maintaining open lines of communication, expressing your love and appreciation for them, and involving them in other ways can help mitigate the hurt feelings and strengthen your relationships over time. With all of this considered, I just really want to emphasize the importance of considering your personal preferences, your cultural backgrounds, and the dynamics of your particular situation when you're deciding if you're going to elope. Because your choice should be based on what feels meaningful and right for you, while taking into account and balancing the potential impact on your loved ones. I hope this has helped you to make an informed decision about your very own unique journey to marriage. I'd love to hear about your experience of eloping too. So please send me an audio message via SpeakPipe or DM me on Instagram. Maybe we can have an elopement week on Instagram with all the amazing places that Unbridely podcast listeners have gotten married in. That would be so cool. I'll chat with you real soon. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.